The GRP business model. The attractiveness and durability of any relationship resides essentially in the exchange of things that hold value for its protagonists. In the case of a business startup, the way an employee, for example, is treated depends upon his work and the expertise he provides. Different people perceive value in different ways. It is not always expressed in financial terms. Criteria such as appointments, time spent traveling to work, the chance of receiving a 13th month bonus, job stability, and even promotion prospects might be weighted differently for each employee. The differences are even more flagrant between categories of stakeholders because expectations are not the same. Value for a client is not the same as the value expected by a banker, a supplier, a shareholder, or an employee, etc. Value is a central concept within the conception of a business model. Value is at the heart of the entrepreneurial project, and a network of stakeholders crystallizes around it with a multitude of expectations. This gives value an ambiguous character, and you need to know how to shape it. The GRP model takes this on board when it defines the business model as a shared representation relating to the generation of value, the remuneration of value, and the participation in value exchange. Each one of these dimensions consists of three components. Let's take a look. In the generation of value, the GRP model insists on the importance of providing clients or users with a product or service that has value for them. In other words, the generation of value must present the offer clearly. This is what business model specialists call the value proposition. There is common sense in this expression, because if what is on offer is not worth anything, then no one will want it. To generate this value for real, you need to manufacture it, and in doing so, you keep the promise made in the offer. Concretely, this answers the question, how will you go about it? The right process starts with the need to capture resources, includes the organization required to produce the promised object, and finishes by delivering the value the client expects to the client. Once again, one must believe in the ability of the entrepreneur to kickstart and guide the appropriate process. To this end, his or her training and experiences are studied, but also their motivations, their values, and this means their profile, particularly by partners likely to fund the project. In fact, if the project is important for investors, then the project leader, be it an individual or a team, is even more important. Consequently, not including the project leader in the business model would be to deny it one of its main aspects. The remuneration of value corresponds to what is sometimes called the economic model. It is a reminder that the project must find remuneration for what it proposes, otherwise the business will not last. Although this remuneration is often expressed as turnover, we shall see in a later chapter that the nature of the project can lead to remuneration taking other forms, for example, user satisfaction in the case of a public service. The first component of the remuneration of value is concerned with explaining how turnover enters the firm. In other words, the sources of remuneration must be clear. For some online businesses, it was necessary to point out that users were not always the payers. All the more reason to give financial partners a transparent explanation of the ways in which turnover reaches the business. This is a crucial point for all kinds of business, not just web startups. A partner who is likely to fund a project will equally be interested, on the one hand, in the volume of this remuneration, that is to say, the estimation of turnover, and, on the other hand, in the global performance of the project under consideration. Performance is assessed from a final perspective, but other perspectives may also be important in the effort to be convincing. For example, performance estimated in terms of a more positive reputation or brand awareness. In the participation in value exchange, one must understand that the business takes its place within an environment to which it is entwined and with which it must be in symbiosis if it is to last. For entrepreneurship is fundamentally an act of partnership. The business model is a shared representation that integrates the expectations of stakeholders. To this end, the first component of the participation in value exchange concerns the win-win relationships that should be set up with partners, for without them, there will be no resources, and without resources, there is no project. What's more, stakeholders are often led to see the project from another angle and can help expand the business network. These stakeholders act in line with conventions, ways of doing things. Their behavior may respond to professional practices or practices particular to a business sector or to the culture of a geographical zone, technical norms, standards of hygiene, etc. And so, to convince partners, the business creator will show he is sensitive to these conventions and that he knows their principles, even when he intends to innovate and bend the rules. Finally, the creator must understand and explain the role his envisaged business will play at the heart of its ecosystem. This relates to the way in which the economic and social system is built, as much as to broader environmental trends. The architecture of this system can be defined as the combination of models through which value is exchanged between the actors that make up the system. A new business must find its place within it. And so we speak of the GRP model. G for generation, R for remuneration, P for participation. Whenever an entrepreneur makes the effort to convince resource owners to turn into stakeholders, he should present the 9 components of the business model without forgetting to show the links between them. Depending on how much time you have to convince them, you can tell the story of your business in a few phrases, in a few slides, or in a few pages with the GRP business model.